Alafia, my dear seekers and darklings. Let's see if I finally get this right for once. So, let's talk about the new moon in Sagittarius, the sign of my rising, my first house. So, a new moon means that there is an exact conjunction between the sun and the moon, right? So there is usually, in new moons, there are agreements between our inner sense of self, or our expression of our inner sense of self, the way that we have fun, the way that we shine in public, right? And the things that are being revealed. There's a union between that and the things that make us feel emotionally satisfied, right? In this case, being in the sign of Sagittarius, what is supposed to be happening in this new moon, right, is that there should be an alignment between those aspects of our religious beliefs, our belief systems, our philosophies, our religious stances, even the truths that we embody, experience, or run across. There should be an alignment between all of these things, right? In the way that they relate to our identities, to our sense of fun and enjoyment, with the things that are emotionally satisfying for us. The things that are also, this might very well happen at home. The moon can often very much represent, your home environment, the place where you reside, or even that truth is spoken by your mother. Okay, and I mean this literally, right? Your biological mother. Those of you whose mother still lives and is a part of your life, that might very well be who speaks truth that affirms you. Now that's the new moon itself, and that's what all new moons in Sagittarius are about, one way or another. But if we are looking at the specific aspects, the specific situations to expect this new moon, the combination of aspects is really fascinating this time, because there's a kite which at its center has an opposition between Venus in Scorpio and Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter retrograding through the sign of Taurus, and a grand dirty trine. So the other placements are Earth signs. We have Mercury stationing to go retrograde in Capricorn, and Lilith in Virgo, which incidentally is a sign that is ruled by Mercury, Virgo. Now, the grand dirty trine in itself means that there is a near direct relationship, a near direct correlation between thinking things or feeling things and acting on them, right? The grand fire trine is similar to this, but the grand fire trine is more impulsive in a way, as compared to the grand dirty trine, which is more of, we just are this thing. It's not necessarily that we do something, we embody something. And in this case, it's a combination of our opinions, the way that we speak, short-term travel or short-distance travel, short-term learning, things that we've memorized, that we're thinking about, information that we just have access to, with larger knowledge, greater lines of reasoning, deeper thinking, more permanent learning, higher learning, those of you that are currently in school in a higher order institution. These things come together in a way that just clicks. You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to try it. They just work together. But they also come together with whatever bad habits we might have around criticism, around perfectionism, around excessively obsessive behavior around, for example, hygiene and organization, okay? These things together are supposed to take us to being more organized, practicing what we believe in, both at the lower and higher level, making them part of our routines. But this combination says that that is going to happen in a way that we probably aren't fully aware of, even though we are consciously participating in it, right? But the center of the kite being that opposition between Jupiter and Venus in Scorpio, I want to warn you first and foremost, be really careful with sexual activity on this day, especially sexual activity with people that arguably you are very, very profoundly convinced are trustworthy. They might very well turn out to not be trustworthy. It might very well turn out that the way that they relate to us is with betrayal. That's one of the things that come with the territory with Venus and Scorpio. You might catch an STD from someone that you were absolutely certain was trustworthy, would not do something that they shouldn't be doing without at least letting you know. This might be the day that we run into this problem and we find out the worst possible way. And there is a certain level of impulsivity in the way that this combination plays out, because we embody these combinations, right? We just act on them. That I keep using the word embody, and maybe manifesting would be another term that very much goes with this. Not only because it's a grand dirty trine, right? So all three of the earth signs are represented, but also because Taurus itself, which is part of that central opposition that makes the kite, Taurus is the sign of the body, of physicality, but especially material possessions and the body, right? And what I'm seeing here, oppositions talk about having to choose, having to decide, right? This is either relate to others with a lot of depth, possibly investigating what they really mean, what they really value, how they really feel, what's really going on inside their minds, or at hidden levels, whether it's spiritual, soul, mind, that on the one hand, or learning through our bodies, learning through nature, learning through physicality, learning through our material possessions, learning through our values, lessons that make us wiser, that last, if not a lifetime, a very long time. But if we're gonna try to do both reasonably together, which means technically doing both of them halfway instead of fully, it is likelier that we'll do the Taurus side, because, I repeat, grand dirty trine, trines talk about two things acting together, even instinctually. It's so easy that it's instinctual. It just happens. It isn't really something that we think about, and it isn't really something that even if we wanted to, we're gonna have that we can actually stop. Exactly. In that sense, even aspects such as the sextile are more forgiving. They give us more space for free will, for the intervention of will. Trines, one thing triggers the other, right? So in that opposition, definitely the Taurus side, the Jupiter and Taurus side, leans heavier, okay? But we do still have somewhat of a choice of how far down the Taurus side we want to go, or how far down the Scorpio side we want to go. Challenges that I'm seeing here come up, precisely that concept of shining through our belief systems, expressing our inner personalities by expressing religious things that we deeply believe in, things that emotionally satisfy us, or that are related to our mothers, or that have to do with the home or at home. It is hard to do that while also making changes to our routines and our daily living and our hygiene and our organization and the way that we analyze things, speak with practicality, speak with precision. It's going to be hard doing these things together while we're doing everything else, right? The other things kind of pull us in that direction and make it hard to explain what is happening at a more philosophical and religious level, if anything, and a more ethical and moral level as well. Because not only since Sagittarius and Jupiter have to do with belief systems and religion and philosophy, inevitably this is also tied to morals and ethical considerations, right? Being the sign and the planet, respectively, of what is true, of what is good, of what is right, just goes hand in hand, right? And we might find ourselves with some ironic, dishonest behavior going down just to make certain things fit or to make certain things work. It could be dishonest behavior, or it could be well practiced, rehearsed, and smoothly executed lies just to make everything else fit. But that being said, there's another opposition that I haven't talked about so far. This is one of the last aspects that I want to talk about, which is super important too. And there's also going to be this day, there's going to be an opposition between Saturn in the first degrees of Pisces and that Lilith in Virgo. Okay? Saturn, properly speaking, really getting into the sign of Pisces, as it's going to be for quite a bit of time. It's the start of a 2.5 year period. And this opposition is, do we just let ourselves be dragged by the urge to be critical and small-minded and let ourselves be guided by our opinions because they seem to click with our larger beliefs? Or do we do the right thing? Do we do the intuitive thing? Do we choose our intuitive and empathetic sides in making choices, even if we can't logically explain them? Because Saturn, much like Jupiter, Saturn can bring rewards. The difference is that Jupiter being a planet of luck and a magnifying glass, in a sense, you get rewards if you do the Jupiter thing, period, ever, anytime. It's generally something that's going to bring you success. Saturn, on the other hand, it can't be a fluke. It can't be something that just happened by accident. It can't be something that you did once. It has to be something that you do, and then you do it again and again and again and again, because it's the planet of discipline. And after you make it a habit, after you do it repeatedly over and over and over and over, then Saturn starts to reward you. Sometimes reward you more than Jupiter ever could. Because Jupiter is like that hit of dopamine that you get really quickly and it's gone, right? Saturn, on the other hand, tends to give you rewards that last. So here it is, do we practice intuition so that we don't fall on the same, critical, small-minded, opinionated habits, behaviors around hygiene and health and so on? Do we practice intuition, connection to humanity and to source, and to spirit instead, consciously and repetitively? Or do we just go with where it seems the day is going to be taking us anyway? I think there's going to be something here about most likely having to follow that material current, right, of the grand dirty trine, and having very few chances to exercise that Piscean thing with Saturn in Pisces, because Saturn at the end of the day is nonetheless the planet of limitations. So one of the things that it means is like you're gonna have very little opportunity to use the energy of that archetype or engage in the activities of that archetype, and that is definitely something that seems to be the case here. But if you notice that opportunities come up to be creative or to use intuition or to connect with spirit to get an answer in front of a problem, I highly encourage you to use it, especially if that's something that you tend to do on the daily, or if that's something that you're not particularly good at and you want to get better at it, to use it as practice, to choose that, rather than just obey your opinions that click with the way that your life is already going, the way that your life is already flowing. Okay? I hope that this new moon brings you tons of growth, tons of opportunities, tons of great things, tons of expansion and evolution. And I will look forward to speaking to you again in 2 weeks.